This podcast is brought to you by our fine supporters at Patreon, who are going to get a bonus episode this month on Alien at the $5 tier and up. If that sounds like something you want to hear, or you want to hear one of the more than 25 additional bonus episodes, more than 30 hours of bonus content, movies like Die Hard, She's All That, Roger Rabbit, Footloose, Halloween, Top Gun, Dirty Dancing, Tremors, Lethal Weapon, The Golden Girls Visit Walt Disney World, our Christmas commentary from last year, The Thing or E.T., visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s to learn more. At the $5 tier, you get a bonus episode every other month, and you get a custom RSS feed, which means you can keep using your favorite podcast app and get this bonus content there. Learn more at patreon.com/dissectingthe80s. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Tripp Lano, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers. And with me, as always, for my new nightmare, 1, 2 machos coming for you. The Macho Man Drew.
Andrew Lano.
This is Scream Zero, a.k.a. Wes Craven's new nightmare.
Yeah. That's good. That's Scream .0.
Yeah, the 30th anniversary this year, 40 for the original, 30 for this resetter, and I didn't get enough time to really dig into the history of this one, but boy howdy, this is one of those movies that you're just like, I can't believe this exists. It's so thoroughly bizarre,
but it's so good.
It is
my second favorite nightmare movie.
Absolutely the same for me, although I think this is not as good. Like, I think this is a little bit too long. I think it's a little...
you can shave a little fat off.
Yeah. There's a little too much cast of Heather Langenkamp. I mean, you like her just so much more than I do. I think she's like a soap opera actress.
Well, she did that for a while, I think. But also, she was
I mean, it's fine.
There's nothing... this movie. That's how young
is.
She
is that right?
She was
Jesus. She's a goddamn baby. I had no idea she was that
She was
young.
20 years old when she made the original.
Right. That's right.
And she's 30 in this fucking movie.
Yeesh.
Nothing to make you feel inadequate about what you've accomplished with your career goals. Than like, oh, this 30-year-old got a movie written for her by a very famous and talented director.
I've gotten to where I'm more impressed by the people who like started late now. I'm no longer impressed by Wunderkinds, but now I'm like, oh, that guy directed his first movie when he was 48. I'm like, okay, all right, there we go.
No, that's impressive too, but it's more of the like, oh man, when you're like, oh, you're 2 years younger than me. 30 years ago, and already infinitely more successful than I probably will ever be in my life.
I just recently read the first book in the Jack Reacher series. I don't know if we've talked about the show.
I know of the show because that guy's really hot.
The first season of the show is awesome, really entertaining, like schlocky 90s action. I didn't like the second season very much, but the guy who wrote those books wrote the first one after he got laid off from a job in his late 30s, and I was like, boy, that really resonates with me right now.
Oh, did he now?
And he had wrote the first one then, and now has written, I don't know, he wrote like 30 of them and then handed them over to his brother, who's now the writer of them, which is like the funniest
kind of a Tom Hanks and his brother for Woody situation.
Yeah, but it's funnier, like the Tom Hanks and Woody thing is like, well, you do kind of sound like Tom Hanks, close enough for like a pool toy children's thing or whatever.
Close enough for theme parks and video games.
Yeah, this is like, well, you're related, so we can put the same name on the books, and it's like, I don't know, like there are certainly brothers who have writing, like other brothers who write or sisters who write, you know, obviously the
Duffers.
Oh, sure. I was actually thinking of the Bronte. No, I was thinking of the Brontes.
Oh, yeah. You were talking about like actual writing.
I was going. Yeah. I was going for literature. But it's just funny to me that it's like, hey, your brother can do the books. And it's like, can the brother write? Like, it's like and I don't know. I haven't read. I mean, I'm certainly not going to read 35 of these Jack Reacher books.
No, but you could read. If you've read the first like one or two, a handful of the originals.
My plan is to read like the originals until I get bored and be done with it. I can't imagine going to the brother
you should
books
just
and
jump
being
ahead,
like, here's,
because I can't imagine that there's too much like.
It's not that. It's more I just want to read the good ones.
I know, but now I'm curious of like, can the brother write, or is it all a ghostwriter?
The universal vibe is like everyone saying these aren't as good.
Ah, okay.
So, but anyway, I don't know how the hell I got sidetracked. Oh, Jack Reacher. Yeah, my brain's a mess. Anyway, we watched Wes Craven's New Nightmare from 1994, and you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your proto scream. Something's got about your proto scream.
When the mega powers explode.
It's time, Riley.
Do not make any sudden moves.
Get away from him! Dad, where the hell's the
Wolfman's got narc!
We start with a very fun, like, it's 10 years later, we're riffing on the glove. Is this the 7th? I know you did this math and I forgot to look it up. Is this the 7th of these or the 8th of these?
I believe this is the 7th, because we got original, gay, warriors, master, child, Freddy's dead, which is 6, so this is 7.
Okay. So they crank out six movies in the intervening decade, and then they go for the hard reset here, which is a pretty hard reset. Freddy doesn't do the quippy stuff. He's not like, basically, he's not doing.
Wes Craven was like, "Yeah, I hate what you did to this." So
he's not at the Comedy Cellar doing a tight 5.
No, he does. He's not begging his friends to show up and not telling them there's a 2-drink minimum, so they don't know till they get there, and then they're stuck.
Hey, sir, what do you do? Oh, IT management. What's that like? Would you say it's a pain in the modem? Huh?
Now I want the Freddy voice, but with a Jeff Goldblum affectation to it.
I thought you were going to say I want someone to go do open mic as Freddy in character, which I think would be.
I would also love that. Or you could go as Michael and just stand up there silently for 5 minutes, but gesture as if you're telling funny jokes, which to me is hilarious.
I think they would not let you finish.
You would get 90 seconds out of that, which is enough for the joke.
You'd get the light.
90 seconds is enough for that joke.
Yeah. Anyway, I have lots of Freddy thoughts, similar to Freddy's at the Comedy Cellar. But we start with this Robo Freddy, which I kind of like, this robot Freddy glove. And they have a hand gets severed, Evil Dead style. Wes always making those Evil Dead jokes, and slapped on there. And then, whoop, just kidding. It's behind the scenes on a film set, which as a movie nerd, I'm like pig and shit. Give me.
I love it. And you get to say Wes Craven on screen, which he didn't do a lot of.
Yeah.
He might do interviews occasionally. I think he did that 100 Scariest Movie Moments thing.
I think he did. Yeah.
I just had that on the background the other week.
I feel like he was not as publicity shy as a John Carpenter.
No, definitely not. But even still, I feel like he was not a big
Yeah, he certainly wasn't a
Dog and Pony show.
Yeah, what was the guy? Was it Sean Miner, the Friday the 13th guy?
Oh, Cunningham,
thank you. Miner must be the guy, the writer who's the whole rights of the Friday the 13th stuff are wrapped up with that guy, I think. But I feel like he was just always out there, and you wanted to get a hold of Sean Cunningham, he's available.
Yes, he is. And I feel like at a certain point, Jamie Lee Curtis became the same way. And not to disparage the wonderful Jamie Lee Curtis, but also she clearly enjoys talking.
Yes. The elder stateswoman thing suits her, though.
So it does. Fun. Trauma is my favorite new thing.
Yeah, very, very, very silly. So we found out Heather Langenkamp, at least kayfabe Heather Langenkamp, which for the rest of this movie, we're not going to just there's the movie is real, and then there's the movie parts of it.
Yeah,
we'll split there, but I'm not doing 3 levels of this. No. The meta story. Oh, I forgot to do this. I forgot to do this for the last episode too. This is a sort of meta take on Nightmare on Elm Street. Heather Langenkamp plays Heather Langenkamp, and Robert Englund plays Robert Englund, and they also play themselves as fictional characters. He obviously plays Freddie again, and she plays
Nancy Thompson for a little bit.
Nancy, yep. But the sort of vibe of this movie is that there is this weird stuff happening that seems like Freddie might be coming into the actual world where Heather Langenkamp lives, and her thinking she's losing her mind, trying to figure out what to do with her child, who also seems to be losing his mind.
by the Freddie of it all.
Yes. Her child's name is Dylan, is played by the same actor who played Gage in Pet Sematary previous episode. So it's a good chance I'm going to flip Dylan and Gage around the whole episode. So just making sure you all know who I'm talking about there. But yeah, that's the movie. And it's got a whole like meta thing that we'll get into as we go, but lots of non-actors playing themselves, including Wes Craven, as we talk about here. I was kind of shocked that the other effects guys weren't the KNB, Craig Nicotero, the three of them. I don't remember the other two guys' names. Not Savini. The KNB effects is like Nicotero.
Well, did
Howard,
they do
something.
Nightmare stuff?
I don't remember. Did Savini do Nightmare stuff? I thought Savini did Friday the 13th.
Savini was Friday the 13th. I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't do Nightmare. And this opening also is, funnily, speaking of Gage, it's also very similar to the opening of Pet Sematary 2.
Oh, that has been on my to watch list forever. I feel like I've seen parts of it on TV, but I don't think I've ever watched the whole movie.
It was definitely part of the like AMC Fear Fest back when that was a thing.
Probably because it was cheap.
Yeah, oh yeah. But it opens with like the behind the scenes of filming a movie, and a woman like grabs a fence in a puddle and it's electrified, I think.
Okay. Isn't it Edward Furlong?
Yes, it is. I think. And then,
are you calling moi a pet cemetery?
And then I think actually it might be the redhead, his best friend from Terminator, might also be in that movie.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
He's a bully who dies. He like
okay. I feel like I remember this like again vaguely.
Or maybe it is Edward Furlong, but it's I think it's the redhead kid. He's being terrorized by an undead person from the pet cemetery with the back wheel of a motorcycle, and his
that scene I do recall watching.
His scarf gets Isadora Duncan up into it, and he gets.
I do recall that from watching it on TV. So maybe I've seen that movie. I don't know. In any case, the hand here, we see that it's like Heather's husband is the special effects guy. They were working on this new Freddy hand that's robotic, and it's kind of cool looking. Honestly, it has a real sort of Terminator-y is what I was going to say, actually. It's got like the like metal tendons in there, basically.
Oh, that's right. It's not that. It still looks like the armature.
It's like the Terminator. Yeah. And
later it looks more organic-y.
Yeah, the third version of it I think is very cool. But the hand goes full the Thing or Thing from Addams Family, depending on which way you want to go with it, and it starts just killing and hacking people up.
Well, also, I have to give her props. I think Heather Langenkamp does some really great dream acting in this opening sequence. Yeah. She's like in the background. And if you pay attention to her, because you're not supposed to, she's just like there, even though she's the star, but it's clearly supposed to like focus elsewhere. She has this kind of like bewildered look on her face a lot as she's looking around like, wait, it's almost like, how did I get here? Did I walk here?
See, the thing that I don't want you to throw things at me through the screen here, but like that's how I feel about most of Heather Langenkamp's acting.
No.
She's always like just like her. I don't know. It's like I don't think she's like awful, but I definitely like there is a cult around her of love that's just like, hey man, I'm glad that somebody does it for you that way, but I'm always just like, really?
I mean, I don't think she's like a Cate Blanchett or a Meryl Streep or a Catherine Hahn, but like she's perfecally good in what she does.
I don't think she's like a third as good as the people you just named.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying like Heather Langenkamp should be lauded in the list of like accomplished, talented actresses of our time.
Sure.
But I think she's perfectly fine.
I think she's like significantly worse than like a Samara Weaving.
I liked Samara Weaving in Ready or Not.
I do too. But I'm just saying, I don't think
I've seen her in anything else. I didn't see the Babysitter movies.
Oh, you would love those. That is like so exactly your shit.
Okay, I've heard good things.
They are. I know I'm not qualified to say this, but those movies are camp.
Okay.
They're both.
I
excellent.
think I've seen like recaps of them, so like I know the gist. But
You should just watch them. I think you would. I think you and your partner would both really enjoy those. And also the real fun of those movies is they came out like 2 years apart, and all of the actors come back. Like all of the people who are in two that were in one are. There's no recasting.
Oh, okay.
But because of the age of the people, there are like two primary players in two that you spend the whole time like, I can't believe they recast this person. Like, oh no, they just hit puberty.
That's just what children do.
That's just what they look like now, and it's the same actor. So you'll enjoy that. But I strongly recommend those. Like, that's a full-throated. You should add that to your Halloween list.
I'll add that to my list of newer things to me this year.
They are perfectly enjoyable, a great, gin and tonic kind of movie, but fun and fun.
Okay, yeah,
fun
I've got about 5
funny.
or 6 new to me movies to watch this Halloween.
Okay, I'm like just so far ahead. We started in like August this year.
I was very busy for most of August and all of September, so I did not have time for fun. I barely had time to be watching Agatha all along, but I made time for that.
It turns out, oops, this is all a nightmare, and now there's an earthquake. And now I am hoping that you caught this. I meant to text you about it when I watched the movie. I wasn't sure if you'd watch it. 4 times in this movie, they use the sound of a plate smashing that would be in like Rocko's Modern Life, and not the sound of a plate smashing that you would get like
if it fell off a shelf.
Well, just like it's a comedy plate sound instead of a real plate sound.
It's probably the sound, like I pictured the sound in my head that like, psh.
Yeah. They use it 4 times in this movie when things break.
I did not
every
catch that.
time it gets bigger and stupider as we go. I'm gonna have to send you to it. But if you haven't watched this movie and you're gonna watch it, highly recommend keeping an ear for that. You hear it the first time here during the earthquake. Another big one is the cemetery sequence, which we'll get to in a little bit. When the statue in the cemetery falls over.
Oh, is it the same sound that plays when she falls into a big like vase thing at the end?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I know exactly what sound you're talking about.
It's like a big. It's the plate break equivalent of the Wilhelm screen.
No, you know what it is? It's the same plate break that in The Golden Girls, The Way We Met, when Rose knocks over the vase, or when Rose shoots the vase in the break-in episode. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I just find it it's like this movie is not that vibe, and then someone chose the wrong sound effect, and it's just in the movie, and it just didn't get caught. I don't know how. Maybe it was a placeholder that they just like forgot about.
It's very possible. So husband has a mystery cut, and
in the same place where his dream hand was.
Yes, and he didn't have the dream, but Heather did, and so she's like very concerned about this. They go to check on Gage, who is doing a very good.
Was that
Dylan,
on purpose?
Yes.
Okay.
Who's very shaken up by what was happening, obviously.
Oh yeah.
And so Heather and her husband have a conversation here where she's like trying to explain what's going on to her. And this is what I will say. I do have a little frustration with the character Heather Langenkamp in the movie of like, Heather, you were in this movie. like this shouldn't, you don't like, if the meta is like the movie's becoming real and you are the actor in the movie, at the part where like people don't believe you, you have to be like, this is what happened in the movie. I'm telling you it's not like that. You know what I mean? I need that part of like that frustration needs to boil out harder and earlier to me.
But also like you can't say that because you can't say this is like just like in the movie I was in 10 years ago, because then they're going to put you in a padded room.
Honestly, that would have been good for her.
No, they would have given her Thorazine, knocked her ass out, and she would have been dragged up the wall like Tina or Julie. Spoilers.
I just feel like there's too much part where Heather Langenkamp is like, this can't be real. And it's like, God damn it, Heather, you were in the movie. You know this is how this works.
She was in a movie film as an actress. And in this movie film, she's playing herself. Who, like, why would I think, like, if I was in a horror movie,
if this happened to you, you would be like, there's fucking something afoot here, and I'm going to talk to people until someone believes me, because I've seen enough movies to know this is the part where no one believes me, and then everybody dies.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Except, no, I go, this is the part where no one believes me, so I won't tell a goddamn soul. I will keep this shit to myself because no one will believe me, and I will end up in a padded room.
I would believe you.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you're the Zoom call character. And like,
I'm saying
how much help is the Zoom call character really in the movie?
It's a 2-hour drive. I could be up there in the same day if necessary.
Yeah, but again, it's just like, is it Vincent D'Onofrio in that Insidious movie?
Don't put me in the D'Onofrio role. He doesn't even get out of the goddamn chair.
That's what I mean. It's the hey.
D'Onofrio zoomed in from his own house. He was like, no, you don't need to send lighting. I'll just do it on my phone.
I got a pot of pasta boiling on the stove, so as much time as it takes water to boil, that's how long I'm doing these takes.
I have a second camera looking at the stove, and once I see bubbles, I'm out.
My character's also going to be holding the 2-prong fork in my scene. I decided that.
Yeah. I'm going to twirl it against my finger. Gage / Dylan is watching Nightmare on Elm Street, which is kind of a fun also thing he would steal for Scream, where he's got Halloween on the TV. Mm-hmm. Did you catch the very famous sound of Heather Langenkamp's door chime, which we hear twice in this movie?
It did strike me as a thing. I didn't place it.
Doom, doom, doom.
It's the General Electric sound?
NBC.
That's GEC for General Electric Company.
Oh, yes. It's the NBC chime. Yes. It's doom, doom, doom. I was like, was that NBC? And then I just like kind of ignored it. And then later in the movie, you hear the doorbell again. And I was like, that is the NBC sound.
Yeah. It's a G, an E, and a C.
Oh, I did not know
proud
that.
General Electric and Scheinhart Wig Company.
So Freddie calls, and then
she has a stalker who's doing a Freddie voice because Heather Langenkamp,
but it's
IRL had a
later
stalker.
we find out. Oh, really?
Yeah, she discussed it with Wes, and he got permission to put it into the movie. But yes.
Yeah, oh, that's kind of.
They also wrote devastating earthquakes into their script, and then a devastating earthquake hit Los Angeles, and they were like, "Go get B-roll, go get B-roll."
Okay, so that was something that I meant to look up and did not, because it really felt very real, and I was shocked that
it doesn't feel like a backlot. It feels
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they wrote it into the script, and then it happened, so they were like, "Well, let's use it."
Yeah. So she's getting these phone calls in the movie. It's Freddie, and then she gets a second phone call and she screams at the guy and like, oops, it's the limo driver. And I want to talk about this limo driver for a second. We get in the car, we're going to this.
The man on
show.
the phone is not the man we see driving that limo.
He certainly doesn't look like the same man.
Because on the phone, he's like, Miss Langenkamp, we have to go now. We're going to be late. And then she goes outside and he's just standing next to the car on his phone. Like he's not idling. He doesn't, it's not like.
Well, he does have to open the door for her because it's a limo. So maybe he's just like, I have to be near her door. And like that will be more efficient if I'm right here to open the door than I have to get out and run around.
I guess.
But my beef with this guy is she gets in the car and he's like, hey, aren't you that girl from that movie with the guy with the knife fingers? And she's like, yes. And then he starts like bloviating out the movie. I'm like, dude, you work in LA as a limo driver for a studio.
For your whole fucking cinemas.
Your whole day. That part was confusing to me because there's no way New Line is producing this talk show. So maybe New Line was just covering this.
It was
for
probably through
purposes.
they probably had to go through New Line to get her.
Yeah. But whomever, it's like you work for a studio, or at least you frequently do. Don't be this guy. You could be like a crazy earthquake we had, huh? I hope everybody in your family is okay.
You can say, I'm a very big fan. You can say I don't think
you can start with that. I think if you're gonna do that move, I think it has to be like as they're leaving. Hey, I hope you had a pleasant ride today. I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm a huge fan. This was really fun for me. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I think it has to be like a goodbye.
The problem is he's her driver all day, so like.
Yeah, I think that's.
If I'm Heather Langenkamp, I wish I would feel so weirded out if I'm chit chatting with this driver all day, and then at the end of the day, he's like, "I'm actually a very big fan of yours." I'd be like, "Well, it's weird that you didn't open with that, but you like."
I feel like
personally,
I feel like if you get the wrong person saying like I'm a fan of yours puts them off in such a way of like they have to feel like they're on, they have to like it just like kind of throws off somebody's whole day. They're maybe getting in the right headspace for this interview
I didn't
or whatever.
think about the being on aspect, but it's always like you just keep a simple sentence. Hey, I'm a really big fan of your work. Thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
No, put
yeah,
up the divider,
I don't
man.
know. Yeah. First of all, the divider absolutely should be up to start. You know, that is how this should go.
Especially because
but
she's not telling you where to go. You were contracted
Right.
by the studio to pick her up here and drive her to B.
Right. This is not an Uber. But yeah, I just could not get over this guy. It's like, come on, guy, you work in Los Angeles. This is your job. Stop it.
And then he's like waxing poetic about the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Yes, yeah. Like, oh man, they got real stupid in the sequels. He's out there like it's like he's at the Comedy Cellar or something. What? The divider's going up.
Wes Craven will never miss a chance to take a pot shot at the sequels to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right. So we go to this talk show, and they it's like a very Sally Jesse Raphael vibe. It's not her.
I'm more of a
it's
Sally
just
Jesse
some
Donatello
actor.
guy myself.
I thought you, to be honest, are more of a Sally Jesse Michelangelo.
Am I Michelangelo? Am I Mikey?
I feel like more than a Raphael.
I said a Donatello.
Did you? I heard Raphael.
I said I'm more of a Sally
I'm
Jesse
sorry.
Donatello myself.
Yeah, you're definitely not a Donatello. I'm a Donatello, so that you can't be a Donatello. We're not the same. That doesn't work.
What's Mikey's deal again? Is he the party
He's
guy?
like the party dude. He eats the pizza.
They all eat the pizza. That doesn't count. They all eat the fucking pizza.
Mikey is the leader of the pizza. Leo leads. Donatello does machines.
Mikey
Raphael
is the leader of the pizza. Did you just say?
Yeah, he is. He's like the pizza captain.
Not the leader of the team. The leader of the pizza. Okay.
No, the leader of the team is Leonardo.
Okay.
They have
and that's the blue
specific
one.
roles.
Mikey's the orange one?
He is. Yes, he is the chief pizza officer.
Okay. CPO.
But so I also love they do the Nightmare on Elm Street theme, but like through the lens of Sally Jesse Raphael daytime television.
Yeah. Well, also, it's wild. The host is talking to her. Also, hilarious, they couldn't get a single daytime television host to do this.
Yeah, like Phil Donahue was too fucking busy or too
even
big
like
time.
Ricky fucking Lake. Like there's so many daytime talk show people
Yeah.
in this time period.
Yeah, exactly. Springer wasn't available.
Because the nanny did a bunch of talk shows in the show, like she had dream sequences or whatever, where they just put Fran Drescher on the Tonight Show in character. Like, come on.
Oh, with like Jay Leno was like on it.
Yeah, it wasn't Leno.
Okay.
It was Letterman. So it was the Late Show.
The Late Show. Yeah.
But he's like, he goes, oh, you have a, because she says, television lets me be with my husband and my son. And he goes, you do have a son. What's his name? And I was like, how old is he? Is the appropriate question to ask on what could be national television, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell if this is a national taping or like an LA local show, but I think it's supposed to be national.
Yeah. But like, how old is your son is a better question, because the follow-up question is, do you let him watch your movies? And it's like, yeah, the age of the kid is the more important aspect to do you let him watch your movies?
Yeah, absolutely. Or like, is he old enough to watch your movies?
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, we got a surprise for you. It's Freddy Krueger.
Like, would you let Robert Englund alone with your child? And it's like, that's a weird question, sir.
Yes.
Because
it's
Robert Englund is a normal human man. Like, he's
Right.
not a murderer. He's not a child murderer /
He seems capable of handling it. I don't know. Also the other funny thing with this movie in general, and it works in this movie, but it's like over and over you hear from actors that like being on a movie is like being at summer camp. It's like this really intense thing. Sometimes you form a lasting friendship, but more often than not, you like don't talk to those people again. But when you see them, you're like, hey, it's you. Oh my God, how are you? But there's like not lasting. It's like you create this fake thing that happens. It's this like closeness. And so probably different for Heather Langenkamp and Robert Englund.
And
I
Wes.
would think.
I imagine Heather, Robert, and Wes actually like stayed in touch and were friends.
Yeah, but what I really like is like they don't have Tina and Rod, and allegedly they wanted to do Johnny Depp, and they were like, he won't do it.
Yeah, so they're at the funeral scene, but they don't have lines.
Yeah.
Which, like, again, it makes sense that like.
Oh, are they? I did not catch them at all.
Rod is Tina's not there. She apparently they offered her too low a sum of money, and I was like, I'm not sure how much you think your cameo is worth.
Well, If she like doesn't live in LA anymore, I could see it being like, I gotta fly all the way out there for like $2,000. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, okay, that's fair. But Rod is there, and Tuesday night from the third one, there's a couple people that are there at the funeral.
Totally missed that. Okay,
that makes sense that it's the funeral for a Hollywood effects guy. Like, yeah, people in the business would know that and want to be there.
Or even just like a funeral, the level of friends of like, we made a movie together and then your husband died and I found out about it. That's like, I could see that.
Yeah,
being,
I would
like,
go. Yeah, it's logical to go to that funeral.
Yeah.
But like, they're not all. It's not. It's not. There's not like a four square shot of like Heather on her bed on her stomach with her feet in the air talking to Tina and Rod and Johnny Depp. Like, with Robert Englund in a circle in the middle. Like, that's... Yeah.
Although the thing I read, and I think it was in reference to this movie, that Depp was like, if they had asked me, I'd have showed up.
Wes Craven was like, there's no way he would do it. So they just never bothered to ask. And then he ran into him later at like a grocery store or some natural, like normal habitat. And he was like, yeah, I told him the thing. And Johnny Depp was like, yeah, I would have done it if you asked me.
Yeah.
Which like, who knows if he's telling the truth, but you know.
Yeah. But it's nice that he thinks about it that way. I love so he comes out as Freddy Krueger, gets this huge pop. People are like, yeah, Freddy Krueger.
I'm surprised
he's like doing the whole thing.
I'm surprised there wasn't like a kid who got so excited he passed out.
Well, they cut to the audience, which we saw a little bit when they was just Heather, and then when we cut to the wide shot of the audience, there's like 80 people dressed like Freddy in the audience, like waving their gloves.
Yeah,
in
they
the
were
air.
like, they must have been like hidden behind the people in the front who were not dressed like Freddy.
Yes, they were laying down
because they also have
in the back
poster boards now that are like, Freddy, I love you.
Yeah. So he comes out and does the whole shebang, and then
Daddy
we smash
Krueger.
cut. Yes. Well, we smash cut to them like leaving the taping, and Robert Englund is wearing like a really nice slim fit suit and these small purple round John Lennon style glasses.
They're not even John. They're more like Wild Wild West.
Yeah, like, they are more Wild Wild West. That's
they
fair.
are so like unaffected is how I would describe these sunglasses.
Yes. Yeah. Like the gayest straight man.
Yes. I mean, Robert Englund feels like the gayest straight man.
Yeah. But it's just this real like he kisses her on the cheek and it's like, oh, Heather, darling, you simply must come over for cheese and wine. Bring that darling boy of yours. I want to smother him with kisses. Like, it's just such a ridiculous gay uncle energy.
Well, I also love like, how long were these kids waiting? Because it does that makeup doesn't like makeup wipe off. Like, you have to spend time. I think it takes like probably an hour to get all that off.
Yeah. I would imagine so.
But yeah, he's swarmed by fans, and she is like alone eating grapes in her dressing room, which apparently is just like very true to life. I watched an interview with her where she was like, "Yeah, that scene like stung in a good way of like, yep, this is life."
So they leave, and the phone rings, and it's like, oh, Heather, you have to come by New Line. We must talk to you about this offer. And they're like, all right, when? She's like, how about now? Like, well, okay, ambush meeting.
You have a car for the day. We're paying. Why not? So she gets to the receptionist, who apparently is Joe Pesci's ex-wife. And she's like, oh, I'm here to see Bob Shea. And the woman like does the like Meryl Streep Devil Wears Prada down up and is like, is he expecting you? And it's like,
yes.
She also like, you work at New Line Cinema, the house that Freddie built. There's no way every other wall on this building doesn't have a Nightmare on Elm Street poster. Heather Langenkamp doesn't look different.
Right.
Like,
also, isn't she in at least 3 of them?
This is her third.
Okay.
She was in the first and the third, and she died in the third, I think.
Okay.
But like you work at this. How can you? How?
Right. She's on the first poster, is she not?
She is. Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, I understand what they're trying to do, with like what the statement they're trying to make, but like it just seemed silly here. Like if she was trying to check into like she was going at a restaurant or something, and they were like, "Who are you?" Sure. But I have a very difficult time believing the receptionist at New Line Cinema doesn't know who Heather Langenkamp is. And
or they were like, Heather Langenkamp is coming in for a meeting now.
That too, but
keep
you
an eye
don't
out
think
for
Bob
her.
Shea every other anecdote is about Robert Englund or Wes Craven or Heather Langenkamp?
I would think so. I mean, now no, but then yes.
Yeah.
Because the other thing with the kayfabe of the movie is like Langenkamp doesn't have like a hugely bustling career, which is true, and like that's kind of worked in here. But I totally agree with your thing with the receptionist. But the other thing with this scene that's tough is like Bob Shea has to act and like they give him so much to do, and it's like, can't he just have had like
no. He gives himself so much to do because Bob Shea loves to put himself on fucking screen.
Is there a lot of these? When are the other ones? I don't know the other ones.
He was in the Gay Friday because he was like, I
really?
want to be the bartender, and they were like, what? And he was like, yeah, at this leather gay club, I want to be the bartender, and they were like, I don't know, like we don't have a costume for you, and he was like, I'll go buy something. So he bought his own costume and was the bartender, and it was just like, why is that?
I find that kind of charming. I find this kind of excruciating where he's like he's trying to be like nice. He's like the character in the movie is like a nice version of R. So come on, Toots, take those stops off and let's see what you're working with. You know
Put
what I mean?
Spider-Man in it.
Yeah, he's like, oh, Heather, come on. We don't have a movie without you. It's Heather and Freddie back together. It's the whole
the
thing.
most unrealistic part of the movie is that he's like, I'll match whatever anyone else is offering you. And I'm like, oh, I'm sure they do that for their final girls.
I mean, in this case, he's like, what are they possibly offering you? Scale doubled?
There is an undercurrent of like, if I double zero, it's still zero, isn't it, Heather?
And the scale plus 10% is a good offer anywhere in town.
But
So they have this whole thing. I do love his Freddy Krueger, Andy Warhol painting on the wall.
his
like
office is a fucking
change
Freddy
colors.
shrine, which means that
Yes,
receptionist
yeah.
has never been in this office.
Yeah, clearly.
But Wes is having nightmares again, which is when he writes the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Which
Yes.
I like that little bit of, world building.
It is preposterous, but yes, I agree.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, he always talked about how his nightmares and kind of helped shape the first one and all that, and like his nightmarish memories. So they're going to make a new nightmare, and they're like, hey, we can't do it without you, which is like, again, very funny.
Yeah, it's like you've done it a bunch of times without me though, haven't you?
I thought I died, buddy.
Yeah. Doesn't she even say that?
I think she might. I can't remember.
I think she says something along the lines of like, and also didn't I die? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And he's like, well, your husband's been working on a Freddy glove secretly behind the scenes all this time.
Yeah. And that obviously kind of shakes her up. She comes home and this happens a couple times in this movie where the time of day just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But she's like on this talk show, which presumably taped like early afternoon. Then she takes this meeting at New Line. Although I guess LA traffic is terrible.
Although
but it's
because she left pretty early in the morning, I think.
Yeah, it was like breakfast time.
Yeah, it was breakfast time when she left for the talk show.
And the kid is in bed when she gets home.
Well, she said Julie says he was taking a nap.
Okay, that's right. He's like full on possessed during this nap.
He has a lot of
thrashing,
demonic
speaking in
episodes
tongues
with foam and
yeah.
deep voice.
And then he shows them his dinosaur, which has got slashes just like Freddy's claws, and is like, "Oh, Rex protected me."
Which where was that scene of like a computer animated stuffed dinosaur?
Yes, because a couple times in the movie it is implied that Rex literally does protect him from Krueger in some fashion. So I definitely wanted the like dead dinosaur, like the
In Jurassic World.
Yeah, or I was gonna say Jurassic Park when Grant has his face on the belly of the Triceratops.
The Triceratops.
Give me Gage / Dylan with his head on the like stuffed dinosaur, like breathing out its last, you know.
So she calls her husband, and she says he was acting like Freddy, and I was like, I don't think that. I think he's acting like Freddy.
He said
chasing him.
He said some words that sounded like Freddy, like "I'm coming for you, Nancy," or whatever he says.
Yeah, but like I don't know. So her husband rushes home, and
But this, I pause there for 1 second. I don't know where the husband is. It's not explained, but he's like, honey, it's a 3-hour drive.
He's in Palm
So was he
Springs.
not, but was he not planning on coming home that night? Like, I don't remember that being part of the conversation.
it was
Okay.
She specifically says something like 2 days apart or something like that.
Okay. Because I was like, if this guy was supposed to come home tonight, he left late to begin with. Like, I couldn't figure out what was going on as he was obviously driving in the middle of the night.
No, yeah, he was in Palm Springs.
Also, Heather Langenkamp has a ridiculously nice house in this movie. Like, I'm sure the effects guy was paid well in the 80s and 90s, and obviously residuals were way better for actors back then. But she's got a rideable cheetah, like, decoration, and a lot of very nice art and big leather couches. And I'm just like, damn, if you get in one movie now,
like a warm ham sandwich and a handshake.
No, this is like a pure one thing, baby. This looks nice. This looks like expensive ugly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but again, compared to pricing now, like,
oh, I don't know. I just assumed that Heather Langenkamp was making a lot more in residuals than we.
she was, but also I think things were not as expensive as they are now.
Maybe. I bet this is a $500 cheetah or $5,000 cheetah. Excuse me. That's what I meant to say.
So when we see her husband on the phone, we can see the like organic looking glove, Freddie glove. He steps outside the trailer to get a better reception. He's like, all right, I'm leaving now. And we see him run to his car and the camera pulls back and we see the glove is gone now.
Also, just to clarify, by organic, he means it's got like muscles and bone and looks kind of like a natural extension as opposed to like a glove that you wear, like a hand with a thing, as opposed to like there were no pesticides used.
Oh, yeah. Organic as in like it feels biological?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is vegan leather, bitch.
Vegan leather is bad. Don't do vegan leather. It will crack on you within a year and a half and you'll have to throw the thing away. Just don't do it.
It just adds to the patina, bitch.
No, you know what it adds to? Someone goes, do you have dandruff? Because you have light pink flakes all in your hair and all over your neck.
Well, it's a glove.
Well, I just meant in general.
Okay.
Because I had a pink leather jacket that started chipping and peeling, and I was like, well, the point when someone was when my boyfriend was like, hang on, and like picked a piece of pink faux leather off my neck, I was like, all right, I think it's time to throw this jacket away.
I always was amused at the people who bought fake leather couches, and then 6 months later, you'd do that same thing. You'd get up, and there'd just be like a strip on your forearm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So she's like, these fairy tales are too scary for you. And then she starts reading, and she's reading like the Grimm's version of these. This is not the sanitized Disney version, but rather the like.
Although it's hard to do a sanitized version of Hansel and Gretel. Like it ends with them pushing a witch into an oven. So like it's
but I don't know that they like. I mean, I don't remember, but in this version, it's like, and then they burned her up, and the smell of her flesh made them weirdly hungry, and they couldn't figure out what to do about these mixed feelings.
Well, they do burn her up in the real one, and like even the sanitized.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
That is the crux of the story.
I feel like my memory of the sanitized version is when they do that, they like knock the house down and it burns all up.
Oh, I think they just leave. They like push her in and run away.
But it's like, yeah, no wonder these are too intense. You're reading him like the really intense Grimm's version of these. And she decides not to finish the story. And he, staring straight ahead, this kid is not a very good actor. He's good at being creepy, though. Yeah. Staring dead ahead at the ceiling, recites the entire rest of the book about like, and then they follow the breadcrumb trail all the way home.
I mean, to be fair, I needed to be read a scary story to go to nap when I was younger. So...
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm just the kid is the point of this scene is like for the kid to be creepy and also to say some lines that they repeat later.
No, I just meant when you were like you were kind of giving her guff about reading a scary story to her kid, and I was like, I need
I was saying she was like, these stories are too intense for you. And I was like, well, then why did you pick the Grimm's version? If you wanted to read him a fairy tale, get the sanitized version. That was what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
So the husband, he's struggling with this 3-hour drive home. He's like barely awake. It's the middle of the night.
My car yells at me if it thinks I'm blinking too much.
Well, this was 1994.
I know, it's just very funny to see how far cars have come.
Although I will say the fact that he can like reach over and feel physical buttons and fiddle through the radio stations is so much safer than now, where you have to just like manually touch a computer screen 82 times to change music.
Did we talk about the Cybertruck screen?
I don't know. We talked too much about the Cybertruck, but you can go ahead.
This is how dumb it is. You know how if you want to change your air vent, you just grab the little toggle and you can push it up or down or side to side or turn it off. To do that on a Cybertruck, you tap your screen, you tap like cabin control, you tap on which one you want to do, which one you want to adjust, and then you have to draw on with your finger the direction you want the air to now flow, and then hit OK. And it's like
impressive.
We went backwards. Like,
yeah,
that
is
dumb.
objectively worse. Yes, than just like a little shiftable.
Give me a toggle.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of a knob to turn volume up and down. I find pushing a button up or down very tedious, but I love twisting a knob up or down.
See, I have both. I have the up down on my steering wheel, and I have an actual volume knob that I can twist.
Kids aren't going to ever get to crank it to 11. That's a sad thing.
They want, although no, because like I said, I still have a knob.
I was just thinking about headphones and phones and all the things.
Well, that
just
too.
Fewer knobs.
Or the time when our dad was driving me, and I was like, "Oh, I like this song. Turn it up." And he reached over and turned it up half a click.
That feels exactly on brand.
Yeah. So his car does not yell at him when he's too tired.
No, but Freddy's glove comes out of a very bad CGI portal in the seat.
It's a bummer that like they couldn't do a.
I don't know why you just didn't. It just put the glove through the seat fabric. Why is this hard? It's not. It's like very easy to do. I've watched you do this effect before, but I do love that the glove comes out and is like, "Is that your dick?"
it literally puts like one claw and scratches at the dick fabric of his jeans.
It gently drags his middle finger claw over the dick bump of the little pop you get in your jeans when you sit down, and then the zipper bump I meant to say, but whatever. It's where it is on you is the dick bump. And then like the guy kind of looks down like, huh? And then looks up and then the whole hand comes out and just like stares across the chest. It's just so funny that Freddy's like, got your dick. What? I just love the absurdity of it. Yeah.
So the police show up to say, "I'm sorry, ma'am, your husband is dead."
This is when we get the NBC doorbell the second time.
Okay. Yeah, I have to find that again.
The whole conversation with these cops is completely insane. They like start to talk and she's like, is he hurt? And I can't remember if it's the man or the woman who says, "I'm afraid it's much worse than that, ma'am."
I was like, is this really how cops tell someone died?
Like, you make her ask, "Is he dead?" And then you just nod? Like, that is so bad. Just
bad,
come out with it.
And also, again, a cab, because they're like, it was a very, very bad accident. It was terrible. And then even the coroner's like, it was an awful accident. But the only thing wrong with him is our 4 deep claw marks down his chest. And I'm like, you don't think that's weird for a twisted metal carnage car wreck?
Right.
That his body is intact? You don't think that's weird?
Like his head's not on sideways,
That he's not just squooshed together?
Yeah. Also, the morgue attendant who we see here is Kenny the cameraman from Scream.
That's right. Move your fat tub of lard ass now.
So Heather, he takes Heather over to her husband, and he pulls the thing up so you can see her head. And then he's like, "I just need you to sign here," which is funny because a minute ago the cops were like, "You don't need to identify the body." It's
but
fine.
All of a sudden, yeah, you do.
It's like, I identify the body. And then she's like, "I'd like to see it again, actually." And he's like, okay.
Which, like,
and
I had to feel like that doesn't feel insane to me. For like,
his reaction is like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah, and it's like, I feel like most people who are like, this is their chance to say goodbye to the loved one. Like,
right.
That doesn't seem insane to be like, "Can I see it one more time, please?"
I think this actor's name, by the way, is W. Earl Brown. He wrote some really good stuff on probably Twitter.
I think that's
about Yeah, he's a big Star Wars fan and got cast for a pretty cool role in Mandalorian, and he wrote some really
Is
fun
he in
stuff.
first or second season?
He's a bartender in the episode with Timothy Oliphant. He may be in multiple seasons.
Okay.
There's a couple episodes
I
with
keep
Oliphant.
meaning to rewatch that show. I fell off.
Honestly, the first season's all you need, in my personal opinion. But
Bottom.
yeah.
Bottom.
I was so disappointed in the subsequent seasons of that show, but that's just me. But then she's like, no, I want to see more, and he's like, okay, and kind of pulls the thing down.
I think
and
she moves the sheet,
Oh, he starts it. Maybe she pushes it more quickly.
and then she barfs.
Yes, yeah. And he's like, I told you, ma'am, you didn't want to see this. And she's like, why does it look like he got scratched by an animal? And he's like, it was a bad wreck. And it's like, well, yeah, but why does it look like he got scratched by an animal?
But again, and just real quick, how many car accidents have you ever seen as a coroner where there's no blunt force trauma, there is no crushing of the body, there's just 4 long claw marks down the torso?
They do some bruising on him, which makes me think that's what they're trying to imply, but it's not. I agree with you 100%. It doesn't look right here.
No. Wouldn't be a nightmare movie without a funeral.
Absolutely not. And this is where we get that funny sound effect the second time. It's like a statue on a grave that topples over and like, you know,
Because there's another earthquake during this funeral. Where,
Yes.
like I said, there's Rod is here Tuesday night, John Saxon, Wes Craven, Robert Englund, I think a bunch of other people too.
Yeah. Saxon gets a fair bit to do in this movie, which I really enjoy. He's
Hope
very
they
fun.
had this relationship IRL. This
Well, it's very funny because, like, for the purposes of this movie, it makes sense. But, like, why is this John Saxon and not, you know, her dad or her mom? It's her movie dad. It like
they
makes sense.
We should have had a line about how Heather's parents are dead or something.
Yes.
Or like they're, you know, on the other side of the country or something. Like
even that, like, you gotta go cross country for a funeral. They have to live in like either they live in Australia. I would be like, yeah, but my husband died. Get over here.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, it's like they must be dead. That should have been a line. But yeah, it's like for a while here, John Saxon becomes her real dad because he was her movie dad.
But I just I hope they had this like delightful paternal.
Oh, same.
relationship.
Yeah. At the funeral, there's some fun business with like the coffin is open. Dylan falls down there. She's like trying to get him back. Freddie's in there.
She falls and hits her head and she gets knocked out. So she has a dream.
And it's Freddie snatching up her kiddo and her like desperately trying to get in there and save him. And then her husband like wakes up and is like, "Stay with me."
His like eyes are bleeding and shit.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
And then this is where John Saxon shows up to like dab her little bloody forehead.
Yeah. Also, the guy, like, Saxon dabs her forehead, and then we cut to the padre who's like, okay, Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, right? All right. Bye, everybody.
May he rest in peace. Get home safe.
Yeah, bye-bye. But this dude kind of looks like Robert Englund stand-in.
I was just about to say.
Similar height and build.
Get home safe. See me tomorrow night at the Comedy Cellar at 8 p.m. 2 drink minimum.
Yeah.
Say my name at the door.
Yeah. But he has like sort of the same wiry build as Robert Englund. It made me wonder if it was his stand-in.
It very well could be. Dylan is out of bed watching the original on TV again. It's actually about where he left off the first time.
Yes. Also, there was a moment with bird nerd Wes Craven like looking around as these crows were like caw caw, and I just was waiting for him to be like, one of my favorite birds.
He pulls out his like pocket guide to North American birds and like crosses one off.
The common California crow. You see him a lot, but never gets old for this guy.
I like that your Wes Craven is almost a George Lucas.
That's what I think of him as. He's like a big old dork. Oh yes, but we're back at Nightmare on Elm Street watching the movie, and then
a very weird, heavy conversation about death and God.
And just so much Bible talk. Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing a quick Bible study in the middle of this movie?
Because it's not like in depth or like it actually has a bearing on anything. It's just like,
right.
Do you have to die to meet God? And it's like, well, I feel like,
yeah,
that seems like a better question for your therapist than me.
Also, like, you cannot say no without further explanation, because you're setting this kid up to like, okay, well then I gotta go figure out how to meet God.
Yeah. So Heather asks John Saxon to meet her at the park while her kid plays.
Little movie dad time.
I love it so much. I don't know why. I just love John Saxon, I think.
He's great. I love him too. But I also just like imagine like, hey John, it's Heather. Can you meet me and Dylan at the Kitty Crippler playground? Do you have time to spend a couple hours at the Kitty Crippler playground?
I don't think they thought about that in those days.
The one on West 47th where just like everything there is dangerous. It's all just metal. You can open anything at any height. You can crawl out of it. Yeah. The Kitty Crippler. Right. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I think that was just the 90s, though.
I don't know, man. This is particularly when he like starts climbing up in this rocket ship, and it's just like little metal, like 2-inch wide metal bars in a circular pattern that you like wiggle through. That's one thing, but then you can open the top of the rocket ship.
I don't think
window
opens. Open the top of the rocket ship.
Why is that window openable?
Because it's probably there for cleaning purposes.
This kid is 25 goddamn feet in the air. He's on top of the fucking.
Also, not one other parent reacts.
Yeah,
like there's no other parents at this park that see the child climbing on top of the thing.
He's up there on top of the fucking Hell in a Cell with Mankind and the Undertaker, and he's just like, I'm coming down, bitches. Heather catches him, which like she catches him.
Sorry. When he was watching Nightmare last night, the TV wasn't plugged in. I forgot to mention that part.
That's right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyways, Heather catches him.
And it's like a really good. The stunt performers do like a very good wrestling catch.
It looks
like,
so good.
Yeah, but like in real life, this would cripple her. Like she absolutely would have broken her ribs. You can't just do this. Like this is a thing that you are trained to do to like safely catch another human being. It's incredibly dangerous. And I understand that like she
has adrenaline mom strength.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not suggesting that she couldn't do it. What I'm suggesting is she would not protect herself and would absolutely have taken like a knee to the ribs and needed to go to the hospital, which would have been something you could have put into this movie that would have been interesting of like Heather's in the hospital with broken ribs.
Well, instead we needed Dylan to say God wouldn't take me.
He's so crazy.
Which like bonkers ass line.
Yeah.
But so this rocket ship ended up in Dylan's real Dylan's backyard.
Oh, really?
After production, they were like, "We're just going to get rid of it," and his dad was like, "Can I have it?" So
I hope they welded that window shut.
I don't know. I mean, it's also probably that they were like, "Hey, you can't do that." Like,
yeah.
You are not this character. You are a human child who knows better.
Yeah, there is a fan film that has cast this actual actor in it as an older person. I wonder if the rocket is in the fan film.
Oh, maybe.
The stalker who was calling is now sending burnt Bible pages
with letters on them. So she's getting stalker letters. Heather calls Robert to let him know.
I love that he's like an esoteric, like him being a painter fits so into
makes
this gay
so
uncle
much fucking
character.
sense.
Yeah. And then that he's doing like a painting of Freddy's Nightmare Return is kind of fun.
It's delightful. I would love to meet Robert Englund because everything I've heard about him is just like he is an utter delight. And
yeah, I've heard that a lot too.
Probably unmedicated ADD, if I'm being honest, based on what I hear from him. Like one of his makeup people is like, he tells the same story, and if you do multiple movies with him, you will hear the same story because it's new cast and new whatever. But if you are his makeup artist, you hear this. And he was like, there was one point when he wouldn't stop moving, and I grabbed his head and I was like, I'll tell it. And I held him down while I painted his face and I told the rest of his story.
That's fantastic. I heard a lot of really fun stuff with him when he did that Goldberg's episode, that he was just like so fun to be around and just like really was having a ball. Which one of the last, if not the last time he put the makeup on, I think
it is. And like,
yeah,
he just did an interview recently where he finally had to be like, yeah, please stop asking me. Like, I am old. He was like,
yeah,
he was like, I would love to do like a voice thing, or
yeah.
He said I would voice a well-done animated thing, or if I could like be the doctor like the kids had in the third one who doesn't believe them. Like he was like, I would do something like that, but he was like, I don't have it in me to do more than one take of these action sequences. It's like, yeah, everyone, he's fucking 70. Leave him alone.
Although I will say, and like he should do whatever he wants, to be clear, but like I don't think you need to have Robert Englund do the action sequences. I think he could just be like the guy in the makeup for a couple of scenes, you know?
I guess it just depends how you're gonna do it.
Like I don't think you have to have. I think you could shoot around Robert Englund doing any of the physicality, but he also would have to get the makeup, which he probably doesn't want to do either.
Yeah. And then
the tilting room, right?
Well, Robert says, no, not yet.
Okay.
Robert says to her, he's like, well, Wes was telling me about the script, and he said, I'm about as close to finishing as Dylan is close to reaching God. And he's like, I don't know what that means. And Heather's like, what?
The fact that she doesn't immediately hang up the phone and call Wes Craven is lunacy. Again, you were in this movie.
I understand. A dial tone on Robert Englund's part.
Yeah. Like, Heather? And it's a boo, 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 boo. Wes, what the fuck are you writing? Because like that's I know.
Heather Langenkamp. Dr. Lecter.
I was like, I know you think that like nobody would believe her. Well, certainly Wes Craven
would believe her. I know that.
And so get to the bottom of this. Start asking questions.
So she also says like, hey, can you meet up to talk? And he's like, today he gets into a trance by his like Freddie's soul chest painting and is like, today's a bad day, maybe tomorrow. And then he Ubers out of the movie, but has a cryptic voicemail or outgoing message that's like, I'll be out of town forever.
The fact that he sets a new voicemail that's like, leave us a message, but we're going to be out of town for a while and probably won't get to it is very funny to me.
Which like was that like a thing in the 90s, 80s to be like?
We never did it. We never created custom away messages. It wasn't an aim
I guess if we were all going to be like, if we had like an emergency that we all were going to be gone for weeks.
No, because mom would never have wanted people who called to know we weren't home.
Oh, that's right. I did write that too. I did write that as a note. if you're outgoing, Bobby.
Yeah, if you were had the means to get Robert Englund's phone number and then wanted to rob him, that would give you that
we
information.
had know where his house was.
Right. Yeah.
So Dylan is sleep pacing while Freddie comes after Heather in bed, and he kind of saves her. The sheets are ripped, but then it's a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's got knives taped to his fingies, like Freddie.
Yeah, Gage made like a DIY Freddie hand.
Like my
Dylan.
Lady Deathstrike.
Exactly. With the connects. Although yours was much safer.
Mine was not steak knives.
We get the silly plate sound here again right before Gage starts chanting and looking at the letters.
Yeah, the letters spell out answer the phone, which leads to another phone tongue bit.
Yeah, a lot of tongue business in this movie.
And then Dylan has a seizure and foams at the mouth, and then the phone is foaming out of the receiver.
Yes, yeah. It's pretty gnarly, but it's fun.
It's great. And then so they're cut to the hospital, and again, everyone loves to be like, so you negligent mother bitch, do you show your kid your horror movies?
Did you see who had a quick cameo in the background here?
Yes, Lynn Shay, which like...
Yeah.
Wild. It should have been some like... A funnier joke would have been that she was working at New Line because she was like she was like the receptionist. She should have been the receptionist at New Line, and we should have cut that stupid joke. Yeah. Because the idea that she's like, hey, or if she could have like slid Heather Langenkamp her resume and been like, hey, if you know anybody making anything,
yeah.
Like, that's what the joke should have been.
It would be better if she was like an exec at New Line, that like she had like her being a secretary or not secretary, the receptionist is the word I wanted. Her being the receptionist at that stage of her career is kind of a huge bummer. That it's her brother can't even give her a Nepo job. It's just like, yeah, I'll get you a foot in the door, toots.
Well, her career didn't explode until later in her life.
No, I know. Yeah. Lynn Shay. Yeah. The childhood schizophrenia is what they diagnose him with. But yeah, they're just like constantly being like, you're a trash mother, right? Like, surely that's the explanation.
So you're
here.
Garbage, aren't you?
Because like later there's a sequence where one nurse stage whispers to another nurse, "It seems like she never lets him sleep." And it's like, she can hear you. And also, what is the evidence that you're procuring for that?
Heather also says, "What are you saying about me?" Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know why everyone decided that Heather Langenkamp was a negligent mother in this movie.
Yeah.
Because again, let's tally, folks at home. In the last 3 weeks, there have been 7 earthquakes, they say.
Yeah. Yes.
She's being stalked, and her husband just died in a brutal car accident not 2 days ago.
Right.
Like,
perhaps there's some trauma in this family.
Yeah, maybe there's a little trauma, and that she needs to fucking handle it.
They give Gage Dylan a sleeping pill, and he cheeks it, which is kind of fun. Because doesn't Nancy do that exact same thing in the third one?
I don't.
Or am I thinking of a different character?
I don't remember if Nancy does that, but I know Jamie Lee Curtis does it at one point in a Halloween movie.
Okay. Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
We get a real weird long oneer of Heather at her car, and I'm like, this is where we can start trimming the fat.
Yeah, this movie is an hour 52 with credits. It's probably more like an hour 45, but
it's an hour 42. It like with if you take it, it's 10 minutes of credits. So
okay, but even so, it's like a little long in the tooth. Like you could probably get this down to 94 minutes without losing very much.
I think so. Apparently, when she dials Robert Englund's number, the phone number buttons make the Nightmare on Elm Street score. I didn't hear it.
I didn't hear that either. I probably would have heard that. I feel like I
rewound it and I didn't hear it. So
I think that's the old IMDb bullshit.
Yeah. And this is where Robert Englund announces on his outgoing message that he has absconded with his wife.
Yes.
And we don't know if he died, if Freddie got to him. We don't know what happens to Robert Englund.
Yeah, no explanation given. Hey, buddy, Mr. Englund, I'm gonna take you out of town for a while. Come on, hop in. We'll see you in the next Nightmare movie.
So she goes to see Wes Craven, and he explains we finally get like the thesis statement of the movie, which is that like sometimes like demon creatures can be so inexorably linked to stories that they get trapped in the story, and if the storyteller dies, then they get released, which is a really cool concept.
Yeah. Also, only bringing this up because of Megalopolis, the Francis Ford Coppola movie that's out right now. But Wes Craven has a Metropolis statue on his desk.
Oh, okay. I like looking at still images of Aubrey Plaza's costumes in that movie.
I will definitely see it because I'm so fascinated of it as a sort of a curio more than a movie. Honestly, kind of how I feel about this movie, not to the same extent, but to some extent. That he sold 2 of his vineyards to make this thing. I kind of have to see it.
Yeah, and apparently someone was saying like all the trailers are talking about how like he's an underdog director, and I'm like, he's not an underdog. Francis Ford Coppola is not some underdog.
You are not incorrect, but he is weirdly a guy that like people have not liked at the time that it came out. Like Apocalypse Now was really disliked when it first came out by a lot of the major critics, and then sort of was reevaluated. Godfather, I don't think had that same thing happen, but I definitely think when he like started to do it, people were like, that's kind of an unfilmable novel. And then this one is just basically like, he spent 40 years trying to get someone to pay for this movie and nobody would do it. And he was just like, fuck you, I'll do it myself, which I kind of admire, even though it's insane.
I admire, but it's not good. It's like objectively just a bad movie.
Yeah. And I just really I want to see the mess. I kind of got to see it.
That's how I feel about Folie à Deux. I'm like, I'll watch it when it goes to Max because this is going to be hot garbage.
Yeah. Yeah. This is also sort of exposition dump samba here. So Freddy's, crossing over into the real world. Although it's not really Freddy, it's this other thing, and that other thing never really gets defined, and we see it for like a flash at the end of the movie, which I find kind of head scratching.
Basically that it took the form of Freddy when they created the story, and now it's been in there for 10 years, and it kind of likes that form. But
I just want Wes Craven giving me some gobbledygook mumbo of like, I based a lot of Freddy on this monster blah 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 that I researched from blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna give me the full exposition dump, give me some more exposition to dump.
That's fair. I do love the line because he says like Nancy's the gatekeeper or Heather's the gatekeeper, and she's like, that was a character I played, and he says it was you that gave Nancy her strength, and I'm like, I just like that's a very commendable thing.
Yeah. Also, he should have been like, no, that was actually Bill Murray.
Oh yeah, the gatekeeper. Is it? It's Keymaster. No, it's Keymaster.
Lewis is the Keymaster.
Sigourney Weaver was the gatekeeper.
Is that what it is? Damn. Okay.
Yeah, because
I think right. She asked Bill Murray if he is the Keymaster. You're right. I'm sorry. I fucked it up. Fucked up my joke.
Think in terms of phallic imagery.
Sure. And then he's like, and it's important that you play Nancy one last time. And then he stands by his computer where we see this exact conversation.
I've always loved this stinger on this scene. I don't know why.
It's good.
I love it that like
it's the right level of cheese.
Yeah, it's exactly the tone that we want.
Mm-hmm.
Because apparently there was like a version of this script or a version of this story where Wes Craven was being stalked by the Krueger entity.
Oh, okay.
And so he was being driven around in a van by the main guy from The Hills Have Eyes with the unique looking face. And he was just frantically typing away on a typewriter in the back of this moving van, and he had cut open his eyelids so he couldn't sleep.
Jesus.
Like it was like a very different version.
Yeah, that's way worse.
Story.
Yeah, way worse. Jesus, he cut his eyelids off in the script. How do you undo that, Wes?
You don't.
Wouldn't it be faster just to kill yourself?
No, I don't know. He probably makes enough money he could pay someone to mist his eyeballs every 30 seconds.
We find out the other special effects guys were found dead, slashed to death.
Finally, we learned that those deaths were real.
Yeah. They've been found in a field, slashed up by a mystery Freddy glove they were working on.
And the Freddy glove is missing.
And then we get another earthquake, and Heather.
I'm sorry, how many hero gloves were they making for this fucking movie?
Yeah. Well,
you don't make 5 hero gloves. You make one.
I think
maybe
they
2.
were. I think they were making the glove that she dreamed about, which is like the effects glove, and he was making the hero glove.
But the effects glove should not have been able to kill them.
No,
that's what an effects glove is.
Yeah, but it's like the Freddy thing, you know.
Freddy closet jump scare.
Well, yes, but also I just want to say real quick, she goes and like stands in the doorway, and the one time I ever experienced an earthquake was when I was working out in Frederick, and I was coming back from the kitchen to my desk at the office, and I felt the quake.
Did you not get the one earlier this year down there?
I don't remember. I don't think I got that one. I don't think I was close enough to it, but I was like, is this an earthquake? And then people started panicking, and they were like, what are you supposed to do? And I was like, I think you're supposed to stand in a doorway. And I happened to be standing in the doorway when I said this. And then 4 people swarmed that doorway and pushed me out of it. Which just tells you a lot about
mist
people.
Or the fog.
Yeah.
What's the
mist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't think you're supposed to stand in a doorway. I think you're supposed to get under a table.
Yes. Yeah, that is correct.
I've been in 2 earthquakes in my life.
Oh, okay. But yeah, you're right. This is like the best jump scare of the movie. Freddy pops out of the closet. It's new makeup for Freddy 2, which is, I think, a little bit less scrotum looking, which is an improvement.
Yeah. It looks more as if like Freddy's, if a human skull was a balloon and you started to blow it up and let some of the skin just rip naturally. Like that's kind of the vibe it's giving. Like some of the like if his head deflated, it feels like all the skin would match back up like Pangea.
Yeah, I think that's right.
We get yet another fucking forearm wake up slash in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Yes. Also another comedy smash sound of the glass break stuff
with the lamp over his head.
Before when she knocks the lamp off the nightstand, not when she hits it over his head.
So she runs to the hospital and sees Julie there. We learn that the
babysitter, just in case other people don't remember.
We learn that there was no earthquake just now, even though she felt one before Freddy came out of the closet.
And the nurse is like dressing her arm and being like, wait, doesn't this look like the cuts from that thing in that movie you were in?
Well, and then again, she's like, so you do let your kid watch your scary movie. And it's like, madam, I don't know if you have kids, but like we got scared of box art, posters, commercials, trailers. Like she didn't have
Other
to
kids
telling the story.
telling us about it. Yep.
which like they were making shit up half the time. It was not what happened in the movie.
Yeah, yeah. Like they closed their eyes and then they told you what they imagined.
Yeah, like come on, lady. I got scared of the box art for Child's Play 2.
Right. I got scared. I wouldn't even go down the horror aisle. I was too afraid to do that.
Oh, it gave me it was like an exciting fear.
I get what you're describing, but I was too much of a little baby.
Yeah, I got scared of the Penguin Bud Ice commercials.
You really were afraid of that.
They were scared. I watch them now sometimes just to like remind myself that I'm an adult. And it makes It's like, hey, you used to be scared of this, but you're not anymore. Like,
Yeah.
you're grown up.
I was just listening to another podcast where the person was a similar fraidy cat like me and was saying that like even now going to like a Halloween haunt gives them the same like you accomplished something, you brave boy.
I love that.
And I get that. I totally understand that feeling.
I also feel like I have to drink a Bud Ice at some point in my life. Do they still make that?
Oh yeah. I don't know. I think so. That's usually like the bum beer, the ices.
Yeah, I feel like I need that because that was what I was so afraid of as a child. I need to at one point drink a Bud Ice.
Yeah.
It's just like a slightly more alcoholic, right?
They freeze it and then scrape off the water that freezes and makes it a more alcoholic, higher concentration of alcohol.
Yeah, okay.
Gage is in a bubble.
He's fine. He's in an oxygen tent. And it's like, okay, he was here for what you said was childhood schizophrenia.
Yeah.
I need to know what happened between then and now that put him in an oxygen tent, ma'am.
Yeah, exactly. Please explain. And then he wakes up, says some stuff to her in a weird voice, and vomits black goo all over the place. And then they come
It's like
running
black
in.
mushroom soup.
Yeah, but they come running in, and she's like, "Oh my God, help my son!" And they're like, "Ma'am, you stay right there," as if she was the one who made him vomit black goo. Like, what do you think she did?
Well, that's why I love that this is a dream sequence. It's like
Yes.
you don't realize it until all of a sudden the leather straps are moving in a weird way. And then the doctor's like, no time for anesthesia. And she raises her hand and she has scalpels taped to her fingers. And she's like, we'll cut the evil out. And then they cut and it's now Freddie's hand and Freddie is the doctor.
Yeah, exactly. Nurse, I guess Dr. Freddie, not Nurse Freddie, is kind of a good look. It's one of several good looks Freddie has in this back half, which I do want to talk about as we go.
I feel like he's done a nurse or a doctor look before.
It makes Freddie as a candy striper feels like a very logical move.
I think there was definitely one where he maybe it was the second one, but there's one where it's just like Robert. It's kind of like remember the Joker in his nurse outfit in the Dark Knight.
Yeah,
Dark Knight. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. I think it's like they have like Robert Englund in.
Oh, it's not Freddie.
It's you don't notice. It's so that he's kind of you're like, is that? You're so focused on the lead person being bandaged up that you don't notice that it's Robert Englund in a nurse dress with a little wig on.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden it is Freddie.
That's kind of a fun way to do it.
I can't remember which
And
one
Robert
it is
Englund
off
was
the
probably like, thank God I don't have to put the makeup on for 1 hour of shooting.
Yeah, right? Heather Langenkamp has the white streak now, like Nancy did.
Mm-hmm.
And we get another screw
Julie
your pass.
comments on that. Yes.
Also, I know adults can leave AMA against medical advice. Can adults take children out of a hospital? I don't see why
I don't
adults...
know.
Because later they kind of imply that she's about to. She's like, I'm leaving with my son.
Yeah. And she wakes up from the nightmare and she's like, where the hell's my kid? And they're like, everything's fine. You look so exhausted. We just want to let you sleep. We took him down for some testing. And she's like, you can't let him sleep. You gotta. And she goes like running after her son. Julie is with him. And Julie is like, better be getting like quadruple pay for this situation where she is like working all night.
Well, so she came of her own volition.
Yes.
And chose
I still
to
stand
stay.
by what I said. It's like,
I think there was a version of the script where like Julie was in on it.
Oh, like she's like summoning the demon?
There's some kind of Julie was
Interesting.
evil version.
That would be
the
kind
script.
of an interesting turn on this movie, to be honest with you.
Because you can kind of feel it in some of her acting choices that like there's a weird twinge to it.
Yeah. That honestly would be more interesting to me. Because like, I guess maybe she just likes this kid and she understands he's going through a rough time. But it's kind of wild that she's like doing so much parenting over this child.
I think she might just be a compassionate person.
It could also have been like a Langenkamp sister situation would have made that.
But Heather,
like that could also play into the like she's evil. It's like she's jealous.
oh, there you go. Who plays Tiffany in Chucky? It is Jennifer Tilly. It's Jennifer Tilly and Meg Tilly situation.
Oh, right. She does have a sister. I forgot.
An Academy Award nominated sister.
For what?
I don't remember.
Like
But if you look
acting?
Yeah.
Oh,
She was nominated before Jennifer was ever nominated for anything.
interesting.
She should have sent Julie to get Rex, but she doesn't. And then the police and Doc question Heather so the nurses can illegally administer medication to this child.
Yeah, I found that a little bit bizarre.
This is a crime. You're criming right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Heather says you can't put him to sleep, and they're like, "Well, he's tired. He's sleep deprived." So they send two nurses into the room. One is preparing a syringe, while the other one stands next to what's his face and rolls up his sleeve. And when Julie's like grabs the nurse's wrist and is like, "I said no, you're not doing this," the other nurse by Dylan just jabs him because she had a secret syringe the whole time.
Yeah, this nurse switcheroo thing is absolutely buck wild.
It is wildly illegal. Like, y'all getting sued into next fucking millennium.
And well, I also love Julie. Like, she punches the nurse who gave him the shot, just like one punch knockout.
I love it.
And then grabs the syringe.
The other nurse is like, "You can't do that." And it's like, you can't do what you just did. We'll talk about that.
She grabs the syringe from the knocked out nurse, turns to the one who gave the shot to Dylan, and they're both holding needles. And she's like, "I don't know what's in this one. Do you?"
Yeah.
And it's like presumably saline, but like, Jesus.
This could be anything. I could give you an embolism.
Yeah. But like, that's where I was like, again, she's his babysitter? Like, this woman is so on tilt for this child. It's crazy.
Well, I think it's also that, like, this kid doesn't have anyone. Like, his mom is gone, and
yeah,
he needs someone to advocate for him because his hospital is clearly highly negligent.
Yeah, yeah.
And committing crimes.
I just thought it was impressive for a babysitter.
Also, Heather hasn't said anything about Freddie, and they keep being like, "I think you're crazy." And it's like, she has not said anything crazy up to this point.
Yeah, yeah. She talked about a stalker. She talked about the husband being dead. Like, it's all pretty normal stuff. That would make a
no
kid
shit,
crack.
my kid is traumatized.
Yeah, yeah.
So Julie locks the nurses out of the room and then tries to keep Dylan awake, but he kind of like micro naps, which brings Freddie into our world to kill Julie.
He's been dosed as well, so he's like trying to fight the drugs off. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Julie gets a Tina death, and she says run, and he doesn't run.
She also reaches for him right at the moment of death, and it's like, don't do that if you want him to run away.
Yeah, because she says help me. I'm like, well, which is it, ma'am?
Yeah.
Is it run or is it help me?
This kid is getting very conflicting messages from you.
He screams for Rex, which is adorable and stupid.
Yeah, that's why it's like, give me the weird, if we're going to do this, give me the CGI dream dinosaur. Give it to me. Also, Freddie has like a really hipster fetching
fedora?
green hat. That matches his sweater, which I was like, oh, it's not a bad
nice.
look.
I like his style here.
Yeah, yeah.
But Heather hears the screams, and they come running and see Julie dead, and she's like, "Where's my son?" And the doctor's like, "Well, he's sedated. He can't go far." And she goes, "He sleepwalks." And the doctor's like, "What?"
Yeah, it's like,
You didn't know that?
Maybe I do know something about my son, you bitch.
Yeah, you dumbass. And then the nurse is like, "Well, he was just here." And it's like, what fucking hospital lets, I don't know, a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, would you say?
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe not even.
And a 7-year-old in his pajamas walk out the front door alone.
Yeah.
Who's running this hospital?
Yeah, where's the night guard? Where's the receptionist? Give me anything.
Any people?
Yeah.
Even just like illegally administering medications to other people?
How about like other people in the waiting room? Like, wouldn't a bunch of people see a child walking alone and be like, what the hell?
Yeah, hey buddy, why don't you not leave the hospital right now? Let's find your mom.
Yeah.
Dylan's trying to cross the freeway. Also, are freeways just a California thing?
What do you mean?
Because they're in like Clueless, they're in this movie, but I don't there's no. I don't think of anything called a freeway out near here in Philly.
The Pennsylvania Turnpike.
But is a turnpike a freeway?
Yeah.
Oh, well, why don't we call them freeways?
Highway, freeway, turnpike, they're all just synonyms.
I didn't know that.
Turnpike, I think specifically is because it's a toll road, but I'm not 100% sure on the nomenclature. But yeah, it's just regional terms for the same thing. Freeway, highway.
Something.
He is standing on the side of the road for like a long time. And like, I know it's a horror movie or whatever. This is stupid. And I'm not trying to be like, plot hole. But like, none of the drivers in the lane closest to the child in his pajamas are like, is that a kid? Slam on the brakes.
Well, they're all going 75 miles an hour. No one has time to stop.
I still feel like hard braking should be happening.
He sees his mom and ignores her and climbs over the fence. I
feel like if I was in the right lane and I saw that, I would be like past the kid, jamming on the brakes, getting out of the car on the shoulder, being like, "Kid, come over here. What are you doing?"
And then he bites you in the neck because he's a zombie and you die.
Maybe.
He tries to walk across the freeway. Drivers are swerving. The effects here are pretty good, I have to say.
Yeah, I was impressed. Like, this is probably the most elaborate stunt sequence I can remember in any Wes Craven thing I've watched. I don't think there's any big car crash stuff in Scream.
I don't remember if
impressive.
My Soul to Take has anything elaborate in it. That would be the only other thing.
Certainly nothing with like big cars like this. I guess there's a little bit of ambulance crash business in My Soul to Take, but it's nothing like this. Like the truck jackknifing and coming around.
Freddie at one point like manifests as a giant in the clouds and like lifts up Dylan by the back of his shirt with his claw.
He's dangling him like it's a claw machine.
Yeah, it's very strange because it almost is like he's saving Dylan, but he's also dangling him in front of other cars. So he's
like teabagging him up and out of danger multiple times, where it's like in front of the truck, over the truck, in front of the truck, over the truck.
It seems very silly even for Freddie. Then Heather gets the kick-ass car stunt. Well, no, she ducks under the semi-truck.
The jackknife truck, yeah.
And then she gets hit by a car.
Yes.
And it's a real person getting hit by a real car.
Yeah, it's a good-looking stunt. Yeah. Obviously, it's
not
done
Heather
at slow
Langenkamp,
speed,
but it's a real person.
It's almost certainly a dude because there's like a real bad.
There's a quick flash, and I can't. Yeah. There's an army of Freddies, and so Dylan runs away.
That part bummed me out. I was like, let me see more of this. It looks extremely cool.
Yeah, that visual is cool. But Heather runs home. We don't see any kind of like, hey, ma'am, let's wait for an ambulance. You just got hit by a car.
The guy who hits her gets out and is like, oh my God, are you okay? And she starts getting up.
Oh my God, are you Heather Langenkamp?
He's like, don't get up. Don't get up. I'm a huge fan. Don't get up.
Are you? Oh my God, are you that girl from that movie with the guy with the finger knives? The first one was good, but the rest sucked.
If the person who hit her was the limo driver, that would be the funniest possible twist in this movie.
I would die.
He was like on his way home.
So she runs home, literally, and John Saxon is there in her house.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Dylan's safe. And it's like, this is where it's sort of like, when did the dream start? To me, the dream started, like, in my headcanon, she got knocked out when she got hit by the car, and now she's dreaming because...
Oh, that would make a lot of sense.
Like, she kind of just appears at running up to her house, and it's like, well, how did she get there?
Yeah.
There's no way that this insane pile up on the freeway behind her house, she's just like, she gets hit by a car, and it's just like, I gotta go, everybody.
Yeah, somebody would not let her leave. Honestly, it kind of, like, I kind of was waiting for, because I had seen the movie before, but it had been a while. I was kind of waiting for the fake out at the end. Like in the original movie, that like this is still a dream. So I that would even be interesting.
If her husband had come in with breakfast on a tray or something, that would have been very like, oh, this is
yeah.
fake.
But I was her waking up like still in front of the car crash would be kind of an interesting thing.
So this because things start to get weird. Because
my favorite part of this is Saxon's like, "Come on outside, I gotta talk to you," and she's like, well, what about Dylan? He's like, he'll be fine. And then he goes outside, and as he goes through the doorway, he transitions Last Action Hero style into
he starts calling her Nancy.
Yeah. It's like, Nancy, give your daddy a kiss. I gotta go back to the force. But
what
then
is the voice you're doing? Are you like Yogi Bear?
John Saxon. That's John Saxon. That's what he sounds like.
You like that's more Yogi Bear meets Arnold Schwarzenegger.
first of all, it sounds absolutely nothing like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And Yogi Bear's like, hey, boo-boo. Hi, boo-boo.
that's
We
the
gotta steal a
cadence
picnic
you're
basket. No, John Saxon. He has this sort of Telly
You're thinking
Savalas
Yogi
thing.
Bear cadence.
The audience can weigh in on this. It's not a Yogi Bear cadence. It's more like a Telly Savalas.
The only problem
Nancy, you gotta see my badge, which inexplicably says Los Angeles and not Springwood, Ohio.
It's supposed to. Yeah, I was like, it's supposed to be spring. Even if it just says Springwood, I'm like, they were not in Los Angeles in the first movie.
Yeah.
And he's like, he gets into his car and says like, I love you, daughter, or whatever. And you can like watch her just like resign herself, like, okay, this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I love you too, Daddy. And now she's wearing her pajamas from the original, and she's back on Elm Street, and the front of the house is the same. But as soon as she runs inside, she's back in her Los Angeles home.
Yeah. Would have been interesting to have the full set from the original done here again, but I understand why they didn't for a bunch of logistical reasons.
Yeah, I think it's also dream logic that like she goes into the original Nightmare house, but she's walking into her own home.
Yeah, that's true too.
The breadcrumb trail of sleeping pills and poor Rex.
This is this I think where we get hipster Freddy, where like Freddy looks like he's in a shoegaze band. He's got like a long black leather coat and like black combat boots. He like steps
That's
on
what he's
Rex.
been wearing.
Okay.
That's what he wears.
Oh,
when he
I was back 2 lines in my notes. Oopsie poopsie. I didn't say that anyway. So we see his like big combat
when
boots
he kills
squishing
Julie,
Rex.
he's dressed like a gay club person.
Oh, I think he looks like he's like a guy who's got like a Brooklyn shoegaze band or some sort of genre like that. A genre where I'm like, what is that? Can you explain that to me? I don't understand what that is.
I make edible ukuleles in a converted gazebo with my improv troupe.
Yeah, exactly.
That's enough out of you.
Nightmare on Elm Street's back on the telly, and she's following the breadcrumbs like you said. This slide looks fun as hell.
At first it's very Last Night in Soho, that in that first shot when like the bed is impossibly big and all that. But then it starts transitioning from like bed sheets to like an air duct to like a wet
it's
pipe.
a sewer. Yeah. I think it all looks great. Honestly, I've long said like my 2 dream movie roles is like guy with head injury or guy getting squished by a big thing. I'd like to add a third is like guy in a bar fight who gets put on the bar and used to sweep it all off.
I do like that one. I like that one a lot.
And this is very similar to that, where she's like very clearly on like some sort of rig under her body that's pulling her down this chute.
And she ends up in Freddy hell, and the production design is just immaculate. It's so good.
It's very Rome, which I agree with you. I like it. It's just like weirdly Rome, and that's where I was like, you should have given me like this is an Italian god or some sort of trickster devil, whatever, you know. Or I found this passage
like
in
the
Dante. Yeah. Like give me this Dante passage inspired me when I wrote the original movie.
Oh, Dante would have been
something like that.
Heather's wandering around.
It's also very Alien vibes, where it's like you see the claw,
movie, like capital A Alien.
Yeah. Where you see like the claw on a pillar, and then it like flicks away, and like moves over.
Yeah. So she hears like the paper in the wind sound, and she sees Wes's script on the ground, and she's reading it, and it's like everything that's happened to her up until this point, and she's reading her thoughts are now on the paper. It's cool.
We get Dylan, who's like yelling for help, and then it's a trick, and Freddy's there.
Well, I don't think it was a full trick. I think it was Dylan.
No, yeah, right. It was just like bait, basically.
Yeah.
But he throws Heather into a bucket of snakes, and is like, "Choose a pet for your child,
bitch."
And one of them is an electric eel.
I don't know if it's electric boogie yogi, but it's an eel.
And she jabs him in the eye with that, which is kind of fun.
And then Dylan actually helps and stabs Freddy.
It's
rare
shocking.
for a child to help.
Rare for any second person in any fight in any movie.
And this whole fight sequence is like really nicely choreographed. It's like she jumps on his back. Dylan stabs him. Like it's really dynamic.
I like that the 7 deadly sins are just listed on the wall as well. There's like no explanation of what they are, but it's just like greed, gluttony, lust, avarice.
Yeah, I'm surprised there wasn't a Nightmare movie where like they did the 7 deadly sins?
That had to have been pitched at some point, right?
I'm sure. Well, they did. They probably like they did gluttony with that girl eating herself to death.
Oh,
and then
right.
They did do vanity or pride, the girl who got bugged in the bug hotel.
Oh yeah. And wasn't the like workout person, I guess, similar?
That was the workout person who got bugged.
Oh, is that okay? Okay.
She was doing presses and then her
Got
arms
it.
broke into a buggy
Yeah.
arms.
So gross.
I know, that's probably one of the only ones in the original series that feels particularly cruel.
It's our old pal Screamin' Mad George doing those effects, I'm pretty sure.
Dylan runs from Freddie and gets...
This sequence is twice as long as it needs to be.
We don't need Dylan running twice. He can just run straight to the oven.
Yeah, it's like 2 minutes of this kid running in circles and Freddie like pop. It's like it has the energy of like a relative playing with a toddler of like, I'm gonna get you, and then they pop, and then the kid runs the other end of the hallway and they take a shortcut and they're like, boo, and that kind of stuff.
It is very that energy.
Yeah, and it's just like, this is going on a little too long. Get me to the end of the movie, please.
So Dylan climbs into an oven and Freddie finally uses his stretchy arm again.
Yes. Also, there's like the sound of the claws scraping, and it's almost identical to the raptor noises from Jurassic Park the year before.
It has to be the same sound.
But yeah, he does his little stretching,
Stretch Armstrong. Nancy gets foiled by stair goop again.
Yes. This is Nancy didn't remember that in order to get to do the temple run in Legends of the Hidden Temple, you have to pass the steps of knowledge, and she doesn't do it. The steps of knowledge.
She has a medallion for the temple guard.
So many times in the show, kids got tripped up by the steps of knowledge and didn't make it to the end. And
half those kids, those buttons didn't work. They were stomping their little feet out, and it was not going.
Yeah, that's true.
But so she stabs Freddie and then says, Dylan, get out of there. And it's like, well, how did you know that there was an alternate exit from this oven?
And like he starts going out the exit, and there's like this thing with a snake where it's like just kind of in the way, and it's like, oh, is he gonna throw the snake at Freddie? And he's like, no, it just is like a very minor obstacle he has to.
But again,
like,
why does this oven have an exit?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's an oven.
And why doesn't Freddie take it? Like he can stretch and contort his body. Like he doesn't play by the rules.
Yeah. So he tongue wraps around Nancy because there's a lot of slippery tongue goop in this movie.
Yeah. And I also like how like Robert Englund clearly is like biting on something and then like using his eyes and wiggling his head to emphasize how he's like air quotes moving his tongue around. And then there's a part where like Gage or Dylan runs out and Nancy's all wrapped around her neck, and there's still like 3 feet of tongue, like the tip part of the tongue, and he's like trying to stab it, and they keep showing him miss, and Freddie like frantically doing eye acting and head moving.
As funny as this is, I didn't need the finger game. What's that called when you do
5-finger fillet?
Yeah, I didn't need fucking Dylan playing 5-finger fillet. He can just stab the tongue. It's fine.
Yeah, but just like the Freddie eye acting in this moment of like left, right. Oh, I gotta avoid this kid's knife. Hey. It's like real Rodney Dangerfield, like tugging the collar.
Now I want Rodney Dangerfield as a Freddie.
That's what it's like.
They split his tongue, and he gets the gingerbread witch treatment.
Yeah, he also tried to vor Dylan, which we skipped, and I kind of like that prosthetic, like just stretching head.
It's gross looking.
Yeah.
We get a nice blend of actual explosions mixed with special effects.
Mm-hmm. And they like both have to pull this ridiculous arm to set the furnace up higher, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
To trap him in there.
A little lever.
And then he becomes a devil for like a second in this burning thing. And then
I didn't need it.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like if you had told me this was like some demon, it would have been useful. And then they jump in the pool and are sucked through it and end up getting spit out of the bed.
Yeah, sure. It's dream logic.
And then Nancy reads him the script, which I find very strange.
The script is there with a note from Wes that says, like, thanks for having the guts to play Nancy one last time. And she reads him some horrifying stage directions.
But I just the whole time was like, well, wait, does Wes know that this was going to happen to her? Like this whole time was like, yeah, you're going to get sucked into a hell portal. Sorry.
So I don't think Wes is writing her like what, like how do I phrase this? I think Wes is just writing what is going to happen. I don't think he's deciding what's going to happen.
Fine, but if you're the prophet, you could tell people the coming storm, you know?
Well, now I don't think he realized he was a prophet until he had that scene with her earlier.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Just at the point where he's written the ending and it involves her getting sucked into the Legends of the Hidden Temple stadium, he should be like, hey, Nancy, perhaps you should keep a knife on you at all times.
Yeah, just a heads up.
I would give this a light recommend. If you're not into this at all, there's probably not much here for you. But like if you're at all into the Nightmare on Elm Street or 80s horror stuff, this is fun.
Or even 90s horror.
90s movie.
To me, there is no scream.
This is a 90s movie. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I like this movie more as a curio than I like it as a movie. I think it's really interesting to see Wes Craven jumping back into Nightmare on Elm Street. I think it's cool to see a director getting to do this kind of weird idea in the franchise they created. Like the idea of like Carpenter doing something bizarre and weird in the Halloween franchise in the 90s would have been very cool to me, but obviously never happened.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I think that parts of it are really cool. I don't love the movie, but I like parts of it quite a bit.
I'm a big old fan. It's a hearty recommend for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I liked this more the first time I watched it, so maybe it was a bad day for me watching it or whatever, but
could have been. That happens to me a lot.
Yeah. But there's a lot to like here. The ideas are really interesting, and I like the meta stuff a lot. I kind of wish there was a little more of it.
I agree.
Yeah. Thank you so very much for joining us on this Spooktacular. If you can't get enough Spooktacular, check us out on Patreon, where we'll be putting up an episode on the original Halloween, talking about another great actress in the Scream Queen au revoir.
Scream Queen
Au revoir of Sigourney Weaver. So check us out at patreon.com/dissecting80s.
I feel like she's less of a Scream Queen and more of just like a heroine.
Fine. Maybe, yeah.
Because I don't think she screams a whole lot in those movies.
Yeah, you're probably right. She did get a whole franchise, which I feel like counts for something. I don't know.
Yeah.
We can discuss that more on that episode. So patreon.com/dissecting80s. You can hear our Halloween episode as well as some other great episodes over the years. Visit us on Facebook or at Dissect the 80s on Twitter. We've also been trying to post a little more on Instagram. It's the same Dissecting the 80s as Facebook, so check that stuff out. Let us know where else we should be on the socials. We'd like to reach more people, and I frankly don't know a lick about it, so your help would be invaluable if you could provide it. So reach out on one of those, and of course, we'll happily read your email, dissectingthe80s@gmail.com. We appreciate you listening on this annual Spooktacular, the 10th probably Spooktacular. I'm assuming we started this in the first run of the show, so that's kind of exciting. And we are barreling toward episode 300. Oh my god! So that will be hitting that early next year, which is kind of crazy. Thank you all so very much for listening. I've been Tripp Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until candied yams.
Don't you forget about me, bitch.
I was gonna do it if you didn't.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.